Welcome to Time for Hope, a faith-based mental health program. Join Dr. Freda Cruz, licensed professional counselor, and her guests as they discuss real-life issues and offer expert clinical advice and solid biblical application for any and all life situations. Now, here's your host, Dr. Freda Cruz.
I always appreciate you joining me for another edition of Time for Hope. As promised, this is the second week that I am being joined by author, Christian psychologist, and speaker, Dr. David Clarke, and we will be concluding our discussion related to David's book titled Married but Lonely. I would say there are many lonely married people determined to stick it out in spite of the disconnectedness in their marriages. This can change, and David has been successful in seeing this happen with many couples when they are willing to follow his directions for change, which are found in his book. The result can be a transformed and meaningful marriage. For more, stay with us. David, will being a hardworking husband, helping with chores around the home, and regular sex, will that make a wife happy?
Unfortunately, no. The men are disappointed now. We think that's enough. We really do. And I thought that early in my marriage. It is not nearly enough for the wife. These are the bottom rungs of the ladder. Important, but not what she really needs, and not what a husband needs to bring.
So, but it's interesting, according to your book, that a woman would say no to that question, but a man would say yes to that question.
Oh, yeah, and both are being absolutely honest. The guy just doesn't get it. That's why the woman has to understand who she's married. She's married a man. He's very dense. He doesn't understand the deeper needs of a woman, very likely. And so she's got to help educate him respectfully, lovingly, and a good man will respond, and then he'll take his marriage from where it is now, which is at best okay in her mind, to great, and then she'll have a very responsive wife, and life will get a lot better.
Now, there are two things you say that make a man what a man is, and that is he was born that way, and what was the other one, the second one?
Culture shapes us.
Yes, culture, yes.
Yes, that's a double whammy. I mean, God made us this way for his own purposes, and we come out this way. You know, we had 3 girls right in a row, Emily, Leanne, and Nancy, our children, and then we had William, who's my son. Absolutely different. Destroying the home, yelling, screaming, I mean, combative, extremely active, not very emotional, you know, and so the changes were just like dramatic. He came out that way. We had nothing to do with it. But then culture, other men, you know, model not sharing emotions, not treating the wife the way she needs to be treated, and even good men, movies, shoot-em-ups, men are not drawn to the emotional aspects of life or the spiritual in terms of meeting a woman's needs. So by the time you marry him, we've got a problem.
Yeah. As we move on then, and the wife's not happy with what the husband thinks is okay, and you say most of them don't have a clue that she's not happy even, because many women won't let it show, and some are afraid to, especially if it's an angry man, and have to deal with that. But if that's not, you know, involved, so what do you advise this woman to do? She's unhappy, he's not angry, he's not going to abuse her for, speaking up, so to speak. And I know that's what you say do. Okay, to go with it.
Well, we're going to have a meeting, a very intense, private meeting between the wife and the husband where she gets his attention. She doesn't mention many positives in that meeting. It's focused on, I'm not happy. I've got to be honest with you. I'm not been happy me for 5 years, 6 years, 2.5 months, whatever it is. And now is the time. I want you to join with me. I have a book. I have a plan. I think it's a godly plan for us to work together, because it's a together thing. Let's work together to change this marriage. And she also says, look, my fault is I've not been honest with you. You haven't known these. I haven't made my needs clear. I've not made my unhappiness clear. Well, I'm doing it now. So it's a real turning point. Most good men will go, I didn't know. I'm not perceptive. I didn't realize. I thought you were happy. This is the way to do it before she is absolutely done and is divorcing you. because Christian women are doing that by the thousands now. We're trying to stop that. Speak up now.
High marriage, high divorce rate. Did we mention that it's 1 out of every 2 marriages?
I don't think we did, and it is. In the Christian community, 1 out of 2.
1 out of 2.
Same as in the secular community.
Yes.
People that don't know Jesus. This is an outrage.
Yes.
It should not be the case.
Yeah. So you want her to rattle his cage. That was one of the things we already mentioned.
Gotta shake him up.
And it should shake him up, right?
It should. If it's a private meeting and it's heart to heart, and she is not backing off. And that's why I say don't say a lot of I love yous and don't say a lot of gosh, we're really okay. He will hear that and he'll stop.
Yeah.
And he'll have no reason to change.
That's all he needs. But as a general rule, these women that are willing to do this, both of them are seeing you, the couple is seeing you, or it's just her?
Or? Very often it's the two of them, and I'll take them right through these steps. I have for 20 years now, 20 plus years. It may be just the wife, the man doesn't want to come, and it's fine, that's not great, but I'll work through the wife, and it will still have the same impact.
Because you advocate letter writing. I've always advocated a lot of letter writing,
I'm a big believer in that. Yeah.
And so she could tell him, here's a letter of needs that could be written to him. Be my lover. Men forget how to do that after marriage, don't they?
Boy, they sure do. And that means listen to me. Men are terrible listeners. When she's talking, you need to listen and reflect. She wants to be romanced. She wants to be led. All these things are so important.
She wants flowers and chocolate.
Who doesn't?
And I've even heard of couples that, like if the man were going out of town, he would leave a note under the pillow for his wife
How
to
sweet
find
is that?
when.
Yes.
And put little things here and little stickers there and things like that.
Sure. Hold hands when you walk with her.
Yes.
So many couples you see walking along, their hands are just swinging free. That's wrong. Hold her hand.
I don't want to put out any negative about my husband. He's gone to be with the Lord and that kind of thing. There was one issue that we had to deal with a lot of issues for as long as we were married. But one of the things I did not like was if we were like in Gatlinburg or someplace, he would walk ahead of me.
Yeah, a lot of guys do that.
Yeah,
it's
why?
like the Middle East. I don't know, because they're getting where they're going, but it's insulting, isn't it?
Yes, and I feel like just trailing along after him, and of course, I was one of those that learned to speak up and tell him, I don't like it. I want you walking side by side with me, not ahead of me.
No, guys will do that. I'm getting where I'm going, I'm achieving a goal, but they forget the wife. We're experiencing this walk together. And look at that, look at this. And the holding hands, that is small, but it's significant.
Okay. How about be willing to talk and listen?
Critically important.
And that's one thing a man doesn't get, that you need to sit down and talk, right?
I recommend 4 days out of the week that the husband as a leader creates on those 4 days 30-minute couple talk times. It's just you and the wife. Private place, no kids, no pets, no TV, no computer, no dumb cell phone, just the two of us. And here's how we create conversation. And then you can talk to me and I can listen to you. That's like a gold mine of intimacy. Most guys don't do that.
Yeah, but most will if they're confronted and get scared.
I think so. And if I'm going to lose you, if you're really that unhappy, if I do love you, I'm a good man, I will. I have to be instructed, but I'll come through.
And then another thing, need you as God's servant leader. We haven't touched on that, I don't believe.
Right. That's the heart of leadership as the Bible describes it. As Jesus Christ led, servanthood. I meet your needs, and that's how I lead you. Most men think it's, well, I call the shots, or here's the way we're going to do it.
And many men just read the submission part. They don't read the rest of that chapter.
Right.
If they did, they could understand that they are to be a servant leader in the home. Like even leading the devotions for a family. Many men, I've had many women tell me their husbands will not do it, and what are they supposed to do? I said, lead them yourself.
That's it. You have to.
Yeah.
No choice.
That's what Susanna Wesley did. She had a renegade preacher husband, pastor husband.
He wouldn't do it.
And he was gone all the time.
That's true. He was riding the
That's
circuit.
when she started her teaching in their home.
Man
For
alive.
the sons, and Charles and John gave her all the credit for their theological training and for their spiritual training and growth and so forth. Do you know that about her?
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
impressive. What a woman.
Interesting. She took it up herself. Well, somebody that was filling in for him at the church while she started having these sessions on Sunday night in their home for the children, and other people started coming, and this guy got jealous and worried and wrote her husband and told him, "You got to do something with that wife of yours. They're meeting at her house and she's doing the teaching." And and he wrote her and told her it had to cease. She said, "You come home and cease it, so to speak."
Boy, she was
Man, she
feisty.
was quite a woman.
Good for her.
Yeah, she's been one of my role models, to tell you.
Yeah, she's great.
To tell you the truth. It's time for a break, believe it or not, and we'll be right back. Happy 4th of July celebration from all of us here at Time for Hope. I hope you will appreciate the following thoughts that I have chosen to share with you related to America's independence celebration. As I meditated on what I wanted to share with you as America celebrates its 237th year of freedom and independence, my thoughts began to settle on the eternal God and how we and our nation have been part of His plan from past eternity. I do not believe that it was an accident that Christopher Columbus had a dream of finding new lands beyond his native country. Neither do I believe that his pursuit was solely his desire for adventure. Instead, I believe that he was driven by an inner knowledge that he had a mission to accomplish, although he could have easily been unaware that it was the Creator God that was directing his journeys. I have read some accounts of Columbus believing he was carrying out God's destiny for himself. Personally, I believe it was his destiny ordained by God. I see America as the Canaan that was promised to the children of Israel. Instead of Moses being told to send some men to explore the land of Canaan, Columbus was directed to go and discover the land of America, which the Creator God was holding for people seeking freedom to worship Him in spirit and in truth, and who would be willing to build a nation that would establish His laws and statutes throughout the land, and a nation that would honor and glorify Him as their King and Redeemer. This became true, and America prospered and grew powerful in the process. May our celebration this year include prayer and praise to the Lord our God, the only true God. Prayer for our nation to repent and return to its roots, and praise that God has not given us over to Satan, but instead promises, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land." Our land needs a great healing, and we need to remember our men and women of faith in Washington as they seek to hold to our original blueprint, the U.S. Constitution, and return America to what it has been and was intended to be: one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks for hanging in there with David and I, but we will be concluding these studies as we further discuss and share some of the things in David's book. But I would encourage you to right now plan to get a copy of David's book. We can only touch, as I so very often say, the tip of the iceberg with our limited time. There is a lot in David's book that many women and their husbands need to take David's directions. He's known as an expert in this area, so if I were you, since we're offering it at any price or any gift that you want or contribution you want to make to this ministry, I'd take advantage of getting this book and seeing if you can't, with what we've done, find the rest of the story in the book and change your marriage. If you intend to stay in that marriage for the rest of your life, and many people do, then you're going to want a meaningful marriage, and that's basically what David and I are talking about, how you get there. And David, am I right?
You are right.
Right on target, huh? So we're still talking about husbands. She's asking him to be her lover and so forth, and that she wants to hear it verbally. I love you.
Right.
Many men will say, and we didn't go over all those things they say that you've got in the beginning of your book, but many men will say, well, I do this, that means I love you. And Gary Chapman would agree that there are those that see love in these various ways, and we agree with Gary, of course we do. But this is more. Right. A woman wants to hear it.
She's got to. We see in the Song of Solomon just showering Shulamith with praise and compliments, her physical beauty, over and over again. Women needs to hear that, especially in this culture. You are the most beautiful woman in the world, I tell Sandy, and then I tell her one reason why. Physical, it could be an emotional characteristic, a character trait, or something you've done for me, your spiritual quality. Women thrive on that, and they need to hear it every day.
Does she like you to call her the Bond?
She does.
Oh, she does?
She thinks it's kind of funny, because I've always wanted to marry a California blonde, and of course I did.
And you got a California blonde. That's another thing that should be in a marriage, playfulness. Being able to play or say things like that to the other one, so that there's some fun involved, not so serious in a relationship, right?
We should cut up and have fun, in the bed, other places. We had this funny game we play in the pool, Sandy and I. We have a pool in our backyard in Florida, and we hit a ball back and forth. It's just something we do, but it's fun.
So he's to tell her he loves her, and he's to find out how to be a servant leader. You and I talked about it off camera. Let's just put it out. There's one verse in Ephesians 5 that talks about the woman being under submission to her husband. The rest of that chapter, which is several verses, is given to the man.
Right.
And you know what I've often said? If a man will do what the rest of that chapter says, and be a servant leader, he's not going to have any problem getting submission, as the scriptures mean, out of his wife.
Makes it so much easier for her. The husband is told, love the wife as Christ loved the church. I mean, that is the highest possible standard. If you can, and that means a lot of things, if you can come through, and the book will explain that, you'll see a tremendous response from your wife. She will love you like nobody's business.
Of course, it does say that we're to submit to our husbands as Christ submitted to his Father. I believe it says it, doesn't it?
That's right. Very important.
And that's important. That loved the church and gave himself for it, and so forth. So we're to make sure that we get the message. But I still like the way you explain it in your book. And real quick, I'm going to want to go over what submission doesn't mean, lest we leave a wrong idea with some people. But he's to be a godly man, a lover, a romancer, and a leader, a spiritual leader for his wife and family. He's to learn to listen, talk with, understand, and respect. And she's to learn how to be a woman to be respected. You bring that out also.
Very important.
And you recommend weekly dates, walking in the evening, romantic cards. This is a biggie, David. Touching without intercourse.
Yes, most men have no idea what we're talking about. There have to be times during the week, low-key, making out, touching, affection, maybe after a talk time with no intercourse. That prepares the woman, and now she knows it's about me. Then when you do have the times of intercourse, which God wants you to have, she's much better prepared. Most men only touch her when they want that. Well, that's not going to work.
Yeah, it's laid out clearly in the scriptures that there is to be the sexual intimacy in a marriage. Then let's go on down. Intimacy of avoiders must realize and accept the reality that they need to make changes. They've got to make that decision, haven't they?
Can't stay the same.
Yeah, okay, let's move on. And you say 3 things that they need to do. A man needs to call his mother and find out what kind of relationship her and his father had, right?
Yes, very important to find out.
And then work to change as a husband and love his wife the way she needs to be loved, and encourage, push if necessary, his wife to express directly all her resentment.
Right.
Get it over, get it out and get it over with, and let me see.
And he needs to hear that, because otherwise she's wounded and she'll stay wounded.
And we talked about bringing up the past pain. Each one of them should share that with each other, and be willing, as it were, to act as a healer for each other. And then the wife goes into the hot seat, and she is to ask him what she's doing to kill the intimacy in the marriage. And but getting down to the submission, wives, it does not mean they have to keep quiet, because you advocate that they are not, that they have these sessions with their husbands and tell them exactly what they need. And I mentioned Sarah.
She's a great example. She spoke right up every time. And she's the example of submission in the Bible.
Did you know the Bible says that Abraham obeyed Sarah?
That's right. It's in there.
It's got it in there.
And he was smart to do it.
And so what does it mean? It means she learns to walk close to God. It means that she's going to tell her husband what her needs are. Right.
And she allows him to make the key decisions. She allows him to be the leader in the relationship. And if he's following the Lord too, it will work.
It will work. If you'll go to Ephesians 5 and read that.
That'll go a long way.
That'll go a long ways, won't it? What about abuse?
It should never be tolerated, ever, under any circumstances. And there's a section in the book, as you know, Freda, about that. That is something that God abhors. It is the exact opposite of how you treat a woman, so I have tough love steps for the wife to take. She tells the secret, if it's physical, she takes her kids, and she leaves.
Yes.
And
she doesn't allow him to abuse the children.
Right.
Two things here.
Draw the line.
There's got to be boundaries set, and if he's not willing to abide by those boundaries, and abuse is involved, she's to get out.
Get out. And then if he changes and comes to the Lord and breaks and repents and proves it over time, okay. But he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
A man that will touch a woman in any way but lovingly has a serious problem. We got to give him some help.
Yeah. Okay, and so in closing out real quick, because our time is gone, if a woman feels that she has given her marriage the best shot, I mean, she's just worked and worked and worked and hasn't gotten the cooperation, or there is abuse, verbal, emotional, and especially physical abuse.
They all count. They're all bad.
They all count. They're all bad. Then she needs to make arrangements to get out of that marriage. Right. Even though we're trying to save marriages, and we want to save marriages.
And as far as I go is separation, but God will direct her path.
Okay, separation.
Right, we separate, and then he'll have a way. If he doesn't change, and through if God releases you, you're released. But I certainly recommend separation in that situation. It's his last chance to get it and to win her back. And plus, she's protecting herself anyway. You got to protect yourself from this man.
And it can save a marriage. When somebody takes a stand and separation is involved and they're willing yet to communicate and get professional help, and as you provide, and so on and so forth, marriages can be saved. I want our viewers to know we are not advocating divorce. There's enough of it. We are putting all of this out in attempting to save marriages.
That's what we're doing. Right.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So, so you say that a woman should be a Joan of Arc and not a Joan of codependency,
Yes,
though.
that's my line.
Yeah.
Too many women are. They put up with it. They put up with it. They tolerate it. That's not what God says to do.
Well, the more they tolerate it, the more they'll have to tolerate.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and so there has to be a stopping point, like you lay out in your book.
Right. I've had enough.
And
Right.
yes, and follow your directions. And then I would say during this separation period, or even throughout the whole process, seek God's direction about what to do and help from beginning to end. He says if we pray, He'll hear us.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're going to have that husband who's separated. We're going to have a whole list of things for him to do. Now, he either does it or he doesn't, but it's his last opportunity.
Yeah. There's a choice he has to make, isn't it?
Right.
Yes. Okay. Well, David, it's been great having you.
I enjoyed it.
And I think it's a tremendous book. I think you put all of your 25 years experience between these two covers. That's what it appears to me. And again, I am encouraging you for the rest of the story to get a copy of David's book. Any amount that you choose to send for a copy of David's book, we will be happy to receive that and get this book out to you. And then I have a prayer request from a viewer to share with you. Dear Dr. Freda, please pray for our marriage. Pray that God will soften my wife's heart and work in her life. Pray that she will want to let God work on our marriage. And then I have a note of encouragement. Dear Dr. Freda, we saw Time for Hope for the first time last week. We look forward to seeing the program again. We like that. May God continue to use you to His glory, to open minds and hearts to know Jesus as Savior and Lord. And before I go, again, I want to say that I strongly urge you, if you're unsatisfied in your marriage and need help, to make sure that you get a copy of David's book.
A free fact sheet that contains additional information about today's topic is available upon request from our ministry. You can also receive a copy of today's resource for a donation of any amount to the Time for Hope ministry. To receive our free fact sheet or our guest book or both, you may call us at 800-669-9133. Write us at Post Office Box 2169, Spartanburg, South Carolina 29304, or visit our website at timeforhope.org. When you call or write, please prayerfully consider a donation to our ministry. Our ministry's mission is to offer hope to discouraged and hurting people. As we continue to give out messages of hope, you can become a member of our team by sending us a financial gift of any amount. When you send your gift to support Time for Hope, you are joining us in offering hope to many viewers who might believe there is no hope for their situation. And you are also enabling us to inform and inspire some viewers to expand our mission as they learn and in turn can minister more effectively to hurting people around them. To see this program again online, go to our website or search for Time for Hope TV on YouTube, iTunes, and Facebook. Join us next week on Time for Hope as Dr. Cruz discusses another insightful topic. Until next time, have a great week. And remember, it is time for hope.